Why do humans hurt other humans? The answer I want to offer you today may surprise you, because I want to argue that a critical part of the solution lies in a remarkable and revolutionary operating system that is in this city, that's in this building, and may even be in this room, if we only know how to look for it and what to look for. One of the constituent parts of that answer is to be found in the very heart of Africa. And for me, that is right and fitting and appropriate, because the answer is somewhere near to where we originated, somewhere near our ancestral home. In the Central African Republic, there has been on and off raging for the last 20 years in various manifestations, bloody warfare, internecine civil warfare. It is of a scale that the United Nations said it verges on ethnic cleansing, one of the greatest humanitarian crises in the world. And in the middle of this terrible brutality and mutilation and bloodshed was a woman, and her name is Sabrina. And Sabrina heard that in the north of the country there was a combat group, a ruthless combat group that had surrounded a school, and in the school were 4,000 civilians. And many of those civilians were children. And Sabrina wanted to do something about it, because Sabrina works for an extraordinary organization called UNICEF. And so Sabrina went to this school with food, and she went up to the commander of this combat troop, General Yaya, and she said, "General, here is some food. The children are starving. I want to give it to the children." Yaya, to be fair, thought about it. And then he did what commanders of combat troops, what warlords tend to do. And he put an AK-47 semi-automatic rifle to Sabrina's head. But she said to him, "General, those children are starving. Here is the food, and I want to give it to them." And what Yaya, it seems to me, had not calculated for was the sheer strength of this operating system I want to speak about with you today. It's not just the human brain. It is a number of evolutionary modules that have adapted over long stretches of evolutionary time, certain, if you like, killer applications that we all have. They contribute to the best and the worst in us. And this particular module that I'm convinced was triggered in operation with Sabrina, I've called the perceiver of pain. It's also called our empathy system. We can perceive the pain of others. And when we do, we can have compassion, and we can care about it. And it seems to me that is good news, and it's news that we don't often hear in this time of selfishness and egoism and Trump and Brexit. We don't hear this. You see, humans are certainly capable of this. But in these times of terror, we don't hear that also part of our embedded evolutionary system, our inheritance, is not to be selfish, is not to be self-centered, is not to be indifferent to the pain of other people. In fact, we have evolved to be equipped with exactly the opposite as well, to be empathic creatures. 2 weeks ago, the Grenfell fire. But at the same time as we heard about this terrible tragedy, reports were coming in that ordinary people ran towards that burning building, people who weren't actually connected to the people in the building, people who didn't know people who resided in that tower. but they were running towards the danger. What does that say about us as a species? And think again, perhaps, about Sabrina in Central Africa. Because Sabrina was operating not just on the front line of a civil war, she was also operating, I would argue, at the very frontier of human functioning, at the operational limits of this operating system that we have. And the reason I say that, ladies and gentlemen, is because Sabrina had heard the rumours. And the rumours were that Yahya and his troops had imprisoned their opponents in these metal crates in temperatures of 45 degrees centigrade and were effectively roasting them alive. Knowing that, seeing that, Sabrina still went up to him and defied him when he had an AK-47 pointed at her head. And I asked her, "Were you not scared?" And she said, "I was scared, but I saw the starving children." And it seems to me that what Sabrina Avakian, who to me is a hero, but also, and I want to emphasize this, a completely ordinary person, no different, I'm convinced, than anybody else in this room. It seems to me that what Sabrina was doing was accessing this deep evolutionary system that we've got.